Okay, we're live. Right, welcome guys. I can see a load of you in the chat there. So welcome to our Tuesday regular live hangout with myself and my good friend Zaheer. Do you want to say a quick hello first, Zaheer?
Yep. Hi everyone. How's everyone doing? It's great to be on the chat tonight, especially with our special guest.
Indeed. we are happy to have Ronnie Hart with us. First time on my channel. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Just trying to get some stuff done. That's about it. Just getting stuff done, I guess.
Yeah.
I gotta get work.
That's the constant struggle, getting stuff done. As you can see around me here, I'm in the throes of trying to put a big FBA Amazon order together. It's just chaos here. There's boxes of crap everywhere. So yeah, I'm just going to dip in the chat. We normally say a few hellos to kick off. Oh, it's just gone berserk in there. Hold on. First in today was Panzer, and then 400 pounds and down says first in like a boss, but he wasn't. He missed it by one. Excellent. Lucy, hi. Peter, Jason, Chelsea, hi buddy. Southwest Sellers, hey, how you doing? Andrew, Richard, Catherine. I could go on, but we'd be here all day. We've got 60 people in already, which is good. So welcome aboard. As you may have seen by the title, we are happy to say we've got Ronnie Hart with us from the good old US of A. You've not been on our channel before, and I'm not sure how many of my subs will follow you. A fair number will, but there'll be many that won't have watched your videos or seen you before. So do you want to give us a little rundown of who you are and what you do, buddy?
Yeah, I'm a reseller from the other side of the pond, I guess, over in Massachusetts. Mostly sell. I'm a full-time reseller for, this is our third year. I do this with my wife. We're both full-time, 100% like eBay, Amazon for the most part. But a lot of Facebook stuff, a lot of Craigslist also involved in that. You know, it's turned, depends on the seasonality of everything. But we sell mostly, probably 90% of our eBay sales is clothing, but there's other things here and there we mix in, especially with yard sale season. It's like we all have our specific niche, but I do know a lot about a lot of different things. So, you know, but I have that niche that I just love and enjoy.
Yeah, so clothing is the mainstay of what you do, you would say then?
Yeah, it's what we find fairly in abundance here, and once you get to know it, know what to look for, and you know, it makes it more easier.
Definitely. Now I see that massive Coke sign in the background. I'm interested, is that stock or is that keeping? Are you keeping that one?
For right now, we have two of them actually. They're both 4-foot signs. This one is painted, I think it's tin. I'm not really sure. I have never really, we got it home from an auction. We put it on the wall. That's the last I messed of it. We got that one, a 3-foot one. We have another 4-foot one. I sold one of the 3-foot ones just because we don't have the wall space for all these things.
Yeah.
And then we have a storage unit that has a lot of advertising and stuff like that in it. And I buy and sell it here. But for right now, that's just going to be on the wall as background. But it could be for sale someday. You never know.
It is very cool. I mean, shipping that, have you shipped something that size and bulk before, or would you do local pickup on that?
It would have to be probably local pickup because it's 4-foot round diameter, and it goes into that freight category depending on where it goes. So I have one that's sitting at a friend's house, but he's in San Diego. We picked it up and didn't know it was going to be such a pain to get it shipped to me. And we picked like the farthest distance in the US from one side to the other, you know, so it's sitting at his house. I'm going to go there and pick it up later this year, most likely.
Fantastic. I was just looking in the chat. I just saw a comment about the Coke sign somewhere. This chat moves a bit quick, so I struggle to keep up with it. I've lost it now. 400 pounds and down says Nick's using American words now, buddy. I say buddy all the time. That's not an American thing. Yeah, so lots of chat going on. Ketan says Nick has had a fight with the barber. How rude. I was quite pleased with my new style, actually. Deary me. There was lots of chat about your hair the other night, Zaheer. Your long, luscious locks.
Yeah, I don't know why it's
become a thing.
It's become a thing. Yeah, I don't know why. My hair is just let's just leave it at that. It's got a life of its own now. I can't stop it now. It has to grow out.
Steve Hicksey says, I bet I could get that Coke sign into a large letter size. To give you an idea, Ronnie, over here in the UK, is that. So why now he thinks the Coke sign in there is beyond me.
I mean, it's an interesting thing. I mean, you're obviously quite into your signs because I think you've talked about it on your chats with Chad. I've seen that before, and yet you say that your majority of your pickups are clothing because that's what's most abundant. So, I mean, would you have a few words to say about adapting to what's around you and how important that is? I mean, and also if you can add in a bit about the Hart's Motor Company thing. Did you used to just like sell cars before or car parts?
Yeah. On the first part, adapting to what's around you, we started in reselling like early 2012, and YouTube channel we made the YouTube channel. We actually made videos like just over 5 years ago, and it was just based on what we found. And I just wanted a way to look back and see like things I found and how to come along. Like I never thought like the channels would have as many viewers and subscribers and people would come on a live show to watch us just talk about reselling. It was just about to connect with other people doing the same thing. I mean, back in 2012, there was one Facebook group that I can remember, and it had like 50 people in it. It wasn't really that popular. Now it's crazy. It's Facebook groups with 20, 30,000 members, people all around the world. I mean, I know I talked to you, people in Canada, people in Japan. It's real crazy. Other parts of Europe. I've talked with people that do reselling. Australia. I mean, it's unreal how you connect with so many different people that it's fun. But going back to the other point now, we started selling a lot of like electronics, a lot of media. We did a lot more Amazon stuff like books, CDs and stuff like that. But we got away a little bit from Amazon, and I also got suspended from Amazon for 2 years. So we had to focus more on eBay. And you go into a thrift store, and all you see, for the most part, here in the States anyway, is clothing. 90% of the store is clothing. So, and we live in more of a upper scale area, the country. So it was like, well, I got to figure out what's here and see if we find it. And lo and behold, you start to come across this or start to come across that. So I was like, well, we're going to focus more on that because that's what's here. It took a little while. It took a learning curve. I had to figure out a lot of different things, brands, how to sell it, how to fixture it, price points and stuff like that. And it took a little while, but, and you constantly got to change too, because clothing is always evolving one way or the other. What maybe was hot 2 years ago is not so hot now, and there's a new brand that's coming. You always have to stay up on top of it. Yeah. And when you don't, you get left behind. I mean,
yeah.
So would it be fair to say that you're not like a fashionista at heart, but you've kind of got into clothing's more out of the adaptation side of it because it's what's available rather than having a natural passion? Or do you have some kind of a passion for clothes as well?
When I was younger, I mean, growing up, I loved sneakers, Jordans and Air Force Ones. Air Force Ones are like I love that shoe. It's just a classic, easy, shoe, and they were fairly cheap. You can get them in all these different colors and things. But I grew out of that phase. I used to have a lot of basketball jerseys when that was big, but I got out of it. Now I'm just a t-shirt, a polo, shorts kind of guy. I want to wear shorts year round. Unfortunately, Massachusetts, it's not going to happen. Need to move south. My wife will complain that I'll go out and try to shovel snow in shorts. It's like, really? But I'm not like one of these people that have to have a $500 pair of sneakers or $1,000 pair of jeans. Like, it's no.
Although those Supreme Nikes can be quite nice. I've seen those get sold out very quickly.
It would be interesting. Like I seen the shoes, the ones by the Yeezys or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Like I see them and they see them come out and they're like $220 or something like that. And I'm like, I wonder how they feel, but I ain't paying that marked up retail for them, you know, and I ain't waiting in line for a pair of shoes. I wear a size 13 kind of in that style of shoe. And it's a little harder to even get your size at a place like that because they're only going to have one or two, if any, you know, you're waiting in line. So it's one of those things.
I was just looking in the chat. If you do have any questions for Ronnie or myself or Zaheer, just pop them in the chat and try and remember to put questions so they're highlighted. A couple of bits coming in for you, Ronnie. And I'm interested as well. You mentioned in passing then that you were suspended from Amazon. What was the reasoning behind that?
I was suspended for not following rules, plain and simple. You know, I did a lot of dumb stuff, not reading the rules. Kind of just skating the new in package rule a little bit. I would think, you know, sending in a package that maybe had a rip in the cellophane, or, you know, there was something I sent in that was supposed to have a remote. It didn't have a remote. Well, I made some mistakes. My biggest issue was I sold some computer software to somebody. About 6 months later, 6 weeks later, they tried to open a case, and Amazon told them they couldn't return it. So then they tried to open one of those A, B, C, or whatever it is, A to Z claim, I think. Mm-hmm. And they got that turned down because I don't know what happened. They were supposed to return it within a certain amount of time. I think they took money and then refunded me back the money. So within a day, 3 people bought something. And at that time, I was doing merchant fulfill. I was shipping it out myself. So I noticed all the addresses were pretty close. They were all in Missouri. So I went on the computer. I looked them all up. And I noticed they were all in like the St. Louis area. So I didn't think nothing of it. So like a day later, I got negative feedback on one of the items. And I'm like, the item's still in transit. Like, how did this happen? And all of a sudden, it dawned on me to look back, and I looked back at that other transaction. The person was in St. Louis, and I was like, they're trying to mess with my account. This person, most likely. And, you know, you have so many, like, inquiries or defects when in a certain period of time, your account goes into that, like, certain, like, you know, protection or whatever, probation period. And I just never got out of it. It was right after the holidays, and I wasn't selling enough at that time to get back out of it. And it took, you know, I just forgot about it. Like, I was like, that sucked. You know, and then I every once in a while, I'd write them a letter and go back through the whole process of trying to get get reapproved. And just out of the blue one day, I was talking with a friend. They sent me a letter that they used. I changed some of the wording, basically sucking up, saying I was a dumbass and I was a bad seller. And all of a sudden they just say, hey, you're just selling back. You got your account again. I'm like, huh? You know,
well,
so
at least that's good to know in a way. Obviously, it's tough if they suspend your account, but it's good to know that eventually they're going to let people back in if you say and do the right things.
I've seen people pay like money to get it back. I mean, and now I'm kind of away from it because the rules and the changes in the U.S. market anyway, with the warehouse fees and stuff like that. You know, I don't know if it's the same fees there, but they kind of fluctuated a little bit. And it was like, okay, you know what? This is not I had a lot of CDs. Last year I bought like 3,500 CDs from somebody. Most of them were new. I went through them. I sent 600 in, and we sold a good portion of them. I think we sold probably 80% of those CDs within the year, and we probably profited somewhere like 22,000 off of those CDs. And then I recalled the rest of them just because the long-term storage fees were adding up. And some of them I had like 15 or 20 CDs of. It was like, you know, and I've been trying to sell them now, but they now I'm getting a notification from Amazon that I need to send in like all these invoices from something to sell in the CD category. So that's coming to an end, I think, soon for myself.
Yeah, that's a bit worrying. There's been rumors that that's going to happen over here. So effectively, you've got to have an official wholesaler to sell new CDs. And I pick up a lot of new sealed stuff and send it in. A lot of this stuff here is the same.
Yeah.
So if they want receipts from a genuine wholesaler that's approved, that's me out of the picture.
Yeah, I'm not sure how, I'm not even going to argue it. I'm like, you know what? It's not part of my, it's not part of my business, even though I want to make Amazon a little bit more part of my business in the future because of my future plans. But it's not going to be with clothing. I mean, with CDs.
Yeah. Just looking in the chat. Have you seen anything in there to hear? Any more questions yet?
Yeah, actually, Anne Hamilton wanted to ask Ronnie about the upcoming conference meetup in Chicago. I don't know exactly what she wanted to ask, but she's mentioned it. I mean, I suppose we could go with what are your thoughts? How are you feeling about going to a conference with a lot of resellers and presumably meeting them all? And are you going to be giving like talks or something, or what's the situation with that?
Yeah, I mean, me, Chad, and Pete, and Deb, and we did this thing, and we're gonna go and we're gonna talk and gonna have some fun. Friday, Sunday, we'll be around to hang out. Friday night, I know we're gonna be around. Me and Chad are getting in the town early. Me and Chad have already met in person, everything like that in Orlando. We had fun. We know each other. I know Pete pretty well. I feel I know Deb really well too because we the communication and everything like that. So I think I'm a little nervous a little bit. You're getting up speaking in front of people. The whole thing has been a learning experience about actually how much money it costs to put on something like this. Like you just don't think about the cost of a hotel and the cost of meals for 200 plus people. Just things that just the processing, the payments on how much money that costed. Like just the little things add up,
Just the logistics of it all. And I mean, overall, obviously there's a demand for it. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened, I suppose, would it? I mean, the demand was there within the community. I mean, what would you say that's down to? Is it just because you guys have got such strong followings over there, or is it down to people are expecting to learn, or is it going to be more of a social experience?
I'll let you know after we do it.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how it's gonna work out. It's one of those things. It's like once we get this under the belt, we'll figure it out and see if it's even something we talk about again, or we just all say, okay, that was nice. Yeah. The first time you do anything, there's always going to be, some type of little bump. It's like you start an eBay account. You're going to have that bump in the road once or twice, and then you iron things out, but you just don't know what to expect to what you do it. I know a few of us are like, oh boy, we got to talk in front of 200 people. Like keeping it. My wife is probably going to be because she doesn't even get on the damn YouTube channel half the time. Like I have to drag her kicking and screaming to get on here.
But she's had one of the most amazing finds. I mean, that can lead on to a question there from Tom Hall, which was, what was your biggest flip, Ronnie, or amongst your biggest flips? I mean, I remember seeing a vintage cardigan, if you could.
Yeah. Biggest, I'll go into the two biggest flips, clothing and then non-clothing. Our biggest non-clothing flip was a Griswold Frying-Pan. They're made in Pennsylvania, Erie, Pennsylvania, I believe. And they're kind of from like late 1800s to about 1950s. This was a large, like 14-inch frying pan. And they have numbers on them. And it was number 13, I believe. And it was 720. They have like little marks. Now, depending on the logo and how big the logo of it is, it's slanted. I did videos on this to kind of date them. But it was dated right around 1910. We paid $75 for that frying pan at a estate sale. And state sales where they basically open up the house and you go in there, everything's priced. And I had a feeling from looking at the pictures what it was, but wasn't 100% positive. So I dropped my wife off about an hour and a half early before the sale. She got in line. I went to another 2 sales around the town, you know, while she was there, picked up stuff, came back. She had the pan. It was $75. And it was one of those things, me and Chad were going back and forth on the messenger, and he's like, I can't find nothing. Of course, he spelled it wrong, so he couldn't find it, and it was kind of funny. But I took the chance on at 75, thinking like, oh, I'll get $300 maybe for this. We wind up selling it in like 12 hours for $1,400.
Wow.
For a frying pan.
A frying pan.
I mean,
that's epic.
And
that is...
yeah, our biggest clothing sale was a vintage Polo Ralph Lauren P-wing cardigan sweater. And same kind of deal. We were up in New Hampshire. This was probably Thanksgiving-ish, maybe. No, that was November 1st. So it was probably late October. We went on like a little picking trip up to like Maine and New Hampshire and stuff like that. And she found the sweater, and I always told her, if you see anything Ralph Lauren that's different, to pick it up. And she's always learning about clothing. We go out together, we go through the stores, so it kind of makes it more easier. And she found it. Now, it had little stains on it. We weren't sure about it. For $9, I was like, well, we'll take the chance. Like, it has to be worth more than $9. You know, I wasn't 100% sure what it was. Then we got it home, and we realized it was a very desirable piece, and we sold that in like 2 days for $720.
Pretty astonishing sale there.
Well, it's not as bad as his.
Well, I mean, I know, but still, it's like the video games have been known to go for silly money, but a frying pan and a cardigan, that's still pretty
the most random items to get big ticket on.
Pretty impressive. Yeah, it's quite a wide range there of you know, it shows what you're willing to try out. The one thing that you can definitely get from talking to you so far is how you're willing to take, you know, try new things out. So for example, we're talking about the conference, taking chances on items out that you've seen whilst you're out there. Is that something that came easily to you when you started reselling, or is that something that you had to develop, like, you know, just going with your gut and taking that chance?
I go with my gut a lot, you know, but we have a smartphone now. If you can't find anything on this in a matter of a minute, like, there's an eBay app. Download the eBay app on your phone. If you're still using a flip phone, I don't know what world you're living in these days. Or if you don't even have a phone, like, you know, just, you know, if you're into business and you're reselling, get yourself your phone, download the eBay app, the Amazon app, if you're selling on those platforms. And you could look stuff up. They make it so easy. It's not like, you imagine selling on eBay like 15 years ago. Yep. You know, you didn't have, I mean, I didn't do it. So, you know.
I've mentioned this before, Ronnie, in some of my chats, and 15 years is how long I've been doing this full time. And when smartphones became, you know, accessible to everyone, and then 4G became out there, it was a complete game changer, because for the first sort of 10, 12 years of me doing this, there was no way when you're out in the field you could look anything up. So you had to carry that knowledge with you. And to a certain extent, I still do. But like you said, you can fall back on technology, and you don't have to take a chance on things. So it has been a game changer. And people that are just coming into this now don't know how easy they've got it, to be honest.
I don't know if it's the same over there, but sometimes in the UK there's like almost an idea that if you use that you shouldn't use a flip phone if you can help it, or sorry, not a flip phone, you shouldn't use a smartphone. Some people actually say, no, when I go out to the boot sales or to the charity shops, you know, I try to just go on, you know, what I think will make profit rather than having the phone out. Some people see having a phone almost like a crutch, but you kind of have to just swallow that. I don't know if it's pride or not, or what it is, but some people definitely have that attitude, and I've seen it. I mean, I don't know if that's prevalent at all in the States. Do people kind of walk around saying, oh, I don't need to use my smartphone, I can tell what makes money?
I can tell you right now, not having that phone around me and having sometimes the ability to make a decision without it, because there was a leather jacket. I'm not going to remember the name of it. Shit. But it was a leather jacket I passed on, vintage leather jacket. And it was $50 at one of the shops here. And I was like, oh, it's too much. And I was already buying a lot of stuff. So I kind of just like, I don't know. It didn't look that valuable. I came home, looked up the brand. It was this jacket that was selling easily between $500 and $1,000. And I was like, I actually drove the 45 minutes when I came home after trying to look for that jacket again. I was like, yo, I'm buying that jacket. And I messed up and did that again with a pair of vests because they were like $15 or $20 each. And there was two of them. Or there was three of them, but one had a flaw. And they were, can't remember the name of that either. But if I seen the name, I would remember. I did a video about like making mistakes and not using a phone sometimes. Because you're thinking, wow, that's $20. Like, that's a little high to spend for something.
Yeah, well, those are the moments when it really comes into play, when it's a significant investment. And on your own, without the knowledge, it's a new brand or it's a new niche or something. If it's, you know, in our language, a fiver, £5 or whatever, you think, I'll take a punt and I'll learn it. But when you get into the 20, 30, 40, £50 or dollars, the phone gives you that, you know, you're not going to waste that money. It gives you that reassurance that it's okay. And that's what it does for me, definitely.
Yeah, it's been, you know, either one of the times my phone was dead and the other time I forgot it in the truck and I was just too lazy to even look it up once I got back to the truck. I was just like, whatever, you know. And then like curiosity got to me like a day or two later, like, oh yeah, that brand, what was that brand name, you know, and look it up and I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I hate that moment when you think, what was that thing I left behind? Oh, yeah, I remember. You look it up and it's like, no.
So after those mistakes, I bought actually a charger for the cell phone. I keep it in the truck all the time. I have a cable in the truck to charge the phone. So, and the phone always comes in with me to the stores now to not make that mistake again.
Definitely. Let me have a look. See what's going on in the chat. Oh, we've got Walking Picker in there. Hey, Lonnie's in there. Quite a few of our American friends have joined us tonight. Let's see if we've had any more questions come in.
Sib K's got a question for Ronnie. What tips would you give to new clothing resellers, and what's your go-to actions when you end up with an item that refuses to sell? So, like, what do you do with slow sellers, and tips for new clothing resellers?
I think new clothing resellers, you have to be patient with clothing. Some of it's long tail, especially when you get into like suits and ties and sport coats. That kind of stuff, it's bigger. Well, not the ties necessarily, but the suits and sport coats are kind of higher dollar items for me mostly. I usually sell them for over $50 up to like $500, depending on the brand and stuff like that. And some of that stuff you just have to wait because you're looking for a specific person to be that size. Maybe the pants have to be a certain size, the color, the material. You know, they're longer tail items, so you have to wait. And people get too impatient. And, you know, that's probably the biggest issue with that. And there was a second part to that. What was the second part?
And what would you do with like slow items that you find that are slow moving? What's your normal plans? Do you slash the price? Do you list it and forget it?
Unfortunately, stuff just sits forever. I am not one of these people that feel like I have to get rid of things. Okay, if I have something for a long period of time, and there's some women's clothes that we've had like a year or two listed, you know, there's certain things that we get and they sell within a month or 2 weeks, a day, 2 hours. It's unreal. And then you get that one thing that you see everybody else is selling but yours. You'll look back at the thing, make sure all the description's right, make sure you put measurements and all this. And that's another thing for new sellers too. Also put measurements in your listings for clothing. Mm-hmm. It will help you actually sell clothing too.
So have you built up quite a large inventory? If you're more the style of list it and forget, does that mean you've got a big inventory behind you, or do you keep that lower?
we had a warehouse for a little while, and when we had the warehouse, we got probably to like 1,000 listings on eBay, mostly clothes. We had some other things. I did a lot of Craigslist back then too, but we got away from the warehouse because we had a lot of issues with, like, we didn't have a toilet or bathroom. We didn't have, it leaked water. I had videos where it was leaking water. It was cold in the winter. It was hot in the summer. It was ridiculous. It was terrible workspace. My wife actually went on vacation to England with her best friend lives in Middleborough, I think. And they were over there, and I rented the warehouse when she was away. She actually came back like 4 days early because she was pissed off. And then eventually, a year and a half later, I had to get rid of it because she was like, no more. This has to go. I don't want this. And he was selling it too. We had the opportunity to buy it and buy another unit. And we just were like, we'll move on from it. But
so what are you doing now? Is all of your stock at home with you there, or what do you do?
we have a few things at the house, but most of the stuff is in a storage locker. We have everything set up there. We have most of the stuff is pre-bagged, and a lot of our jackets and suits and stuff like that are already boxed up, and we just have inventory numbers on them, so it makes it easier when I sell something. We only have listed right now, I think it's like 440 items.
Okay.
And we almost do the same as when we had that 1,000 items, 800 to 1,000 items. I've evolved over time and kind of stay away from a lot of the slower moving stuff if I can possibly do it. Our business models kind of changed. Most likely, most of it, I wanted to sell within 90 days. You know, there's certain things, of course, that I'm not going to sell within the 90 days, but I try to sell it within those 90 days now.
And it's worth pointing out that your turnover compared to your inventory number is pretty good. I mean, we all know it's obviously turnover is just turnover, but your turnover, I mean, I'll let you talk about it if you're comfortable with it, but your turnover is pretty impressive from what you've shared on your channel.
Yeah, I mean, it's just trying to find better things, pricing things right. Wintertime, it does slow down a little bit. I will run all different kind of sales, but we'll do better as when we get back here, and my wife, my business partner, is going to come back, and I kind of slacked off while she was away for a while. So we'll get back into it. There's bins of stuff that need to be photographed, and it's like, that's the one part I hate doing is photographing stuff. She's a lot better at it. She went to school, or I don't know, she helped the photographer for a while, so she's actually pretty well with it, even though all our pictures for eBay are right on the phone because it's so easy. We had one of those Canon DSLs with the flip out thing on it and everything, but she was complaining it was too heavy, after taking pictures of 15, 20 items. And then you have this $600 camera, you're moving it around all the time. She dropped it once. That was the end of it.
Yeah, I use my iPhone for all of my photography, as does my wife as well. And they're so good cameras in phones now. You can't really tell much difference.
Yeah,
and it's just so convenient. I'm interested that your store has relatively low inventory, and yet your turnover is considerable, because there's a school of thought that the more inventory you have, the better. And to be successful at this game, it's all about inventory. And as you just explained, if you can find the right things, you can have a lower inventory and be fine, and the turnover is fine. So it's interesting to find somebody that's found the way of that you've learned your niche, and you know what to buy that's quicker moving, and so the inventory never builds massively.
Yeah, I mean, two of the people that I talk to, on a bigger basis about their businesses is Golden Finger Picker and Craigslist Hunter, and they both have smaller inventories and move a large amount of their inventory. So over time, I think I've adapted to their kind of business model based on my space also that I have now. It's not like I have the warehouse. I mean, when I had the warehouse, I actually donated probably 100, 150 items. It was just like going through things, and it was like, had this too long, this was a bad buy, time to donate it. I mean, I filled up my truck twice. I had an excursion at the time. We put down the seat, filled it up twice, and donated all kinds of things, including things that weren't even listed, just because it was like, you always list the good things, and then the little trinkets and things that you don't think are that great got put in buckets, and then all of a sudden it was like, yeah, we're not listing that shit. It's got to go.
Isn't that a great moment when you purge stuff? And we've been doing that recently. I don't know if you know, but we had a retail outlet as well, where my wife had a kids clothing shop, and we came out of that, I guess it's getting nearer a year ago now, and we just had endless stock that we were trying to sell in bundles, and kids clothes not that easy to sell quite often. And we've ended up recently just purging it, giving a load away, selling it off cheap. And that sense of release, of getting rid of it, has been fantastic. So yeah, I had an interesting question that we could all touch on. CYBK says, everyone, what's your thoughts on using 10 days, 30 days, or good till cancelled, or maybe even auction? So Ronnie first, do you use the auction format at all? And if you'll buy it now, how quick do you relist? How long do you have them on?
I don't like the auctions. There's an echo.
Is there? I can't hear on my end. Let us know in the chat if this sounds bad.
All right, maybe it's just on me. But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Auctions. I hate auctions. Auctions are terrible. I never do well at auctions. Unless you have that one desirable item, like your game or Golden Finger Picker with some of his party suits and stuff like that. It just does not work. You need to have two people fight, and then, you know, you'll see people all the time complain that they put up this like a Ralph Lauren polo shirt, and it's like, oh, I didn't get any bids on it. It's like, yeah, there's 10,000 on eBay. Like, they can pick and choose what they want, you know. But I do mostly 30-day listings, and then after 30 days, I relist them and I'll check them over to make sure like price is right or certain things. It gives me a chance to go back at the item and look and maybe say, huh, I would have thought that would have sold sooner. Oh, I've had that up listed for a while. You know, let me check the listing and look at it and see if there's anything that needs to be changed, or maybe pictures need to be retaken or something like that. We have done shorter times of like 7 and 10 days, but I just, you know, I think it's for clothing, it's too short of a time window, you know. Yeah, I never really seen much of a difference in running 10 or 7 or 30 days. So we just do 30. Good to cancel, I think, is, I think your listings just get lost the longer they're in good to cancel. Yeah, I know a lot of people will be like, well, it hooks up with Google after 30 days. And it's like, yeah, but I don't know how many people actually use Google to look for a used item. Like, if you're going to eBay, you're going to eBay. Like, I don't know how much really your outside sales come from that in a way.
Yeah, I have the same opinion on good till cancelled. We do use that a lot, but that's for inventory that we have 10, 20 items of. And then, you know, you can sell multiples off a good till cancelled. And because you have those sales, you get that presence in the best match search. We've actually switched to doing 10-day cycles now. And I think it's improved our sales because you get that boost as it's coming to the end. And then, of course, when you relist it, or sell similar, it's a fresh item. So we get that boost sooner, 3 times a month. But it's still an ongoing experiment. How about yourself, Zaheer? What are you?
Well, I suppose that goes kind of hand in hand, though, doesn't it? Having a smaller inventory to keep to be able to manage, because if your items are ending regularly, like a 10 or 30-day periods, and you want to be able to look over them to see whether you can improve them, it's going to be a lot easier to do if you've got, like, I don't know, 400 or 500 items rather than, you know, 10 times that amount. So it kind of works together, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, we hover around the 400 or 500 mark at the moment. Yeah. But then we're juggling Amazon as well, where we're sending loads of stuff up. So we have that to contest with all the time.
I'm doing just 10 days on most things, though, pretty much. But I mean, I don't have a great deal of clothing. So
there's people in the chat, Ronnie, wanting you to try and pronounce some of the UK counties. I don't know if you can see.
I'm bad with pronunciations. This is very known with clothing. People will make fun of me, not make fun of me, but they're in the in the chat always, you said that wrong, da 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 da. And it's like, you know what? Don't bother me with that. I know I'm bad at it. It's one of those things. I'd rather be bad at pronunciating and good at selling.
That's fair enough. It's a fair point. People saying that the sound's okay. One person was saying that there was an echo, but I guess it's gone now, so that's cool. We've got a question there. What would you guess is your average sale time on clothing? I know you've been saying you're trying to pick stuff that is quicker selling. So if you could say an average, how long is your stuff on before you shift it?
I would say right now, because of what we sell, about an average 150 items a month. So having an inventory about 450, I would say most of our items sit around 90 days or sell within 90 days. Is that, you know, so it would probably be like a 35% sell through most months rate. Cool. And I think our average sale price, depending on the month, is between $45 and like $70. Some months are better than others, but I kind of try to stay like with a higher clothing because I don't want to be like one of those people sending out $10 items, like hundreds of them, or you know, a lot of them, because it just takes so much time. Instead of pick more basically quality over quantity is more my style.
I think it's probably a good time to also just mention that you did say that this has taken time for you to get to where you are now, because sometimes you get the impression from YouTube that things are a lot easier than they are, because you get to see more the just the result, don't you? Oh, you know, I sold this, or I'm turning over this, but it takes time, and you know, you said yourself it's taken you a couple of years to get to this point, and you've taken ideas from, you know, you mentioned Pete and Chad about how they run their inventories, and and you've worked that into your business. And how do you find that you get that across in your videos on your channel, or do you also get comments like, "Oh, you make it look quite easy," or anything like that?
Yeah, I think every once in a while you'll have a new buyer that watches your videos and they get the impression maybe that it's easy or things. I think overall, most of us give off that impression, unfortunately, that this is easy. When actuality, it's not easy. It's not easy sourcing. It's not easy buying. It's not easy looking for stuff, buying the right stuff. I mean, we all make bad buys. I don't know how many times I get something, it doesn't work, or there's a big flaw in the item. There's a 4-inch rip in it, and it's like, how the hell did I miss that? It's one of those things you just you do it, and it's like, you know, everything is learning, and you always keep learning. There's no end actually to when you stop, because if you stop learning, you're probably gonna fail at this eventually.
I think maybe,
guys, I'll be back in a second. Courier's just coming to the door. Hold on.
No worries, no worries. Would you say that part of that might be, as a reseller, you're going to naturally have like a positive disposition, aren't you? Like a positive attitude, and maybe that comes across, and maybe that's what misleads people, because obviously we try not to mislead people to make it look unnecessarily easy. But do you think it's just because by the nature of what you're doing for a living, you have to be like a positive, proactive kind of person, and maybe that's what gives that impression that it's easy? It's because you can take setbacks better than the average person, or you can take stress better than the average person.
I'm very good with stress. I'm very good with setback. Like, I don't let the negativity really bother me too much. I mean, I will argue with people if they feel like they want to argue with me sometimes, but for the most part, like business wise, a return happens, like no big deal, just return the item. I'm not going to make a post in 5 different Facebook groups complaining about how this person wants to make a return because if something didn't fit and it's a $9 item. Like, stop it. Like, you're wasting too much time.
And I mean, one other thing actually that kind of stems from that, you know, people's attitudes towards things like producing your own income. I mean, you've mentioned this before as well, that when you guys first started this, I think you went on holiday to was it Costa Rica? I don't know. I don't want to sound like a Dominican Republic. I don't want to sound like a stalker or anything, but I do know. But you handle that stress well of oh my God, now we've got to make an income. I mean, I've gone through that recently as well, where just adjusting to the fact that if you don't make an income, there's no money coming in, there's no job, there's no anything there, and it can come across that you can handle that stress too easily, but you are stressing. I mean, trust me, guys, I stress about it, but it's how you handle the stress.
I mean, it's funny because like when we went on that trip and I left my job, just got tired. I worked in a restaurant. I was not happy anymore. I wanted to leave. I was there 16 years and was like, enough was enough. I had to go. And my wife worked as a manager at a party store, like Party Favors, that kind of junk Halloween costumes. And she left at the same time. I was like, you know what? If I'm going to go full-time, you might as well go full-time. With probably not the best decision. But then we go on a 5-day vacation, or 5-week vacation back home to the Dominican Republic, where my wife's from, and spend money doing this, doing that. You still got to pay all your bills at home. You got no money coming in, so you think, oh, wow, I'm set. We got plenty of money in the bank. All of a sudden you get back and it's like, that's not looking too good. That bank account's not looking healthy. It's time to get this back to work. And it happens. I mean, it happened recently with me with my mother-in-law getting sick. We helped out with a lot of different things. And, all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, a few poor months of sale or slower sales and you're not listing as much. And all of a sudden you're like, that didn't work, But, it's life. You're going to have ups and downs. And if you can't figure out ways to get around them and move forward, then you just have to stay positive, or you're just going to go spiraling down a hill.
I was going to ask you, Ronnie, because both you and your wife quitting your 9-to-5 jobs to do this echoes what myself and my wife did 15 years ago. She had a good job at Amazon and I was in the police force, and we both quit those jobs. We just had our child, and certain members of the family, definitely certain friends, thought we were insane, like literally insane. I wondered, what was the take from your friends and family when you said, we're going full-time and selling stuff on eBay? What was their view on that?
Well, a lot of people knew, because I let everybody know that what I worked with, or just people I knew, like my friends and stuff, knew I sold on eBay. They knew I've sold on eBay from probably the late 90s, but I just didn't sell like for a living. I sold personally. I would sell a lot of sports cards, like baseball cards and stuff like that, and some other, more my hobby related items. And then when they did that whole thing where you were going to get taxed on it, I think it was like 2007, they were like, oh, we're going to 1099 everybody, so you have to go over a certain amount, you're going to have to get taxed. I was like, oh, hell no, that's not going to happen. And I just stopped selling on eBay for a few years. But then when I moved to the Dominican Republic in 2009, I sold a lot of the stuff I had on eBay, including my truck at the time. And when we came back, we decided that we were going to live in America. Like, Dominican Republic was probably not the place I felt most comfortable living at the time, just because the income there to make is a lot less. You're not going to make the same amount of money. I tried working there. Really wasn't my cup of tea. But we are looking maybe in the future, in 5 years, to move back there. That's another story for another day. But damn it, lost my train of thought.
It was about what people thought of your decision.
Oh yeah. I remember now. So everybody already knew, and they knew like I would make $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 off of eBay part-time, putting in maybe 20 hours. And a lot of people thought it was interesting and cool, but they don't know anything behind that. They don't know, oh, he makes, $4,000 or $5,000. They would tell a customer or, my boss or something like that. So, eventually a lot of people, my family and everything, just was like, oh, you know, no big deal. You've always sold on it. You're going to do better and you'll figure it out. And you know what's best for you. I don't think I got really anybody that was, my mom was a little, don't be crying to us when you need money or something like that. And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, you guys don't even have money for yourselves. Like, you know, they're at that point where they got too many properties and too many issues. And, you know, they're at that age where it's like, okay, you guys really actually do need to start selling some things, you know. But it's just part of, you know, I think nobody ever doubted what we do for the most part. It was just like, if I failed, it was, I'm going back to work. No big deal.
Yeah. I think when we made our decision, it was still in the early days of eBay. A lot of people we talked to about it didn't even know what eBay was. So I think it's more mainstream now, so people can get their head around what exactly you're talking about. When we made this decision, people were like, what the hell? Does that even exist? Is that possible? So yeah, it's a little bit different back then. I just want to read the quick Scottish weather report, which we get most chats. I've just lost it. Haggis Hunter says, greetings from the land of torrential non-stop rain and high winds. Not sounding good up there today. It was tropical last week.
Yeah, weather's changed the last couple of days. Got quite a nice question from Amy May in the chat, which is, with your higher priced items in terms of clothing, do you package them differently to the lower priced ones?
I package everything really the same way. I just made a way, I talked about how we did all our shipping on a video. Most stuff like shirts and stuff like that go in poly bags. Then we use a lot of these things we have over here in the States. Are these poly mailers, but they're padded. They have like bubble wrap in them. So they're not bad for certain things, like jeans you can get away putting in here fairly decently. But like anything like suits, sport coats, certain things, I put them in boxes and stuff like that. You know, I charge shipping, so I'm not looking for the cheapest way to send something to somebody. And I think that's what happens a lot of time. People offer free shipping, and then all of a sudden it's like, what's the cheapest way I can send this to somebody, you know? And it's where sometimes little issues come about, you know.
Graham Nichols also has a question. Do you ever get a negative reaction from thrift store staff who realize that you're reselling, as this can happen in the UK at times?
I think over here we have such an abundance of resellers. Like, there's 4 or 5 people that watch my channel that are actually in my town and go to the same stores I go to. I run into them. Just one the other day ran out of a bunch of those envelopes. I actually met up with her in town and gave her some of them because they're free from our post office. So, you know, it's just networking. And, you know, I see these people. I see some of them in the grocery store. I see them at the gas station. It's, you know, it's interesting. It's competition, definitely. But for the most part, I mean, it's just it's going back to thrift stores. I mean, there's so many people that do this in America. I don't think thrift stores really look down on anybody because we have such an abundance of, every store's got probably 1 or 2 people every day with these huge carts of stuff. And we have a lot of like Brazilians and Haitianos due to the earthquake a few years ago that are in this area. And every day they're buying cartloads of stuff, and they send it back to their countries to sell it. So they're reselling on a whole nother level. I mean, I know people that send stuff back to the Dominican Republic. We tried sending stuff back to the Dominican Republic and selling it, that we failed at it. I'll admit to it. We failed. You know, it's something we talked about. My wife recently went to a mall there, and they had a bunch of clothes still with the thrift store tags on it, and they were just selling it like in this like boutique. My wife's like, they still have the thrift store tags on it. It was really weird. It's like, what the?
Yeah.
So it's not really a thing then, really.
Not so much here.
Yeah.
There's a few comments saying that you've been a really good guest. Chris Gotts was in there saying that he's going to catch up later and that you're a great guest. So that's fantastic. You've had a great reception. I just wanted to touch on the fact that we are taking part in an ongoing chat called the Reseller Six Pack. That's kind of when I first got to chat with you. And we had a really interesting discussion a couple of weeks back about should we be open about it, and should we advertise what we do, and who uses cards and stuff? Where do you stand on that? Are you totally open to anyone that asks you that you're going to resell the stuff, or do you care about that?
Everybody knows what I kind of do around me. Like if I go to the estate sales, there's 5, 10, 15 people at the estate sale. Most of the people that go to the estate sale, especially the ones that stand in line, are resellers. Like the estate sale companies know that. The other people know each other for the most part. You know, I don't hide anything. You know, our store actually knows, I mean, my Goodwill knows I sell on eBay because of Jason T. Smith had a show on TV about thrift hunting or whatever, or it was called Thrift Hunter. He came to our store, and out of curiosity, they went on YouTube to see, and they, you know, came across my videos.
All right.
So it was like my store knows what I do. I just don't think they know to the extent of it, because it's not like they pay attention and watch, you know. But it was kind of funny when they initially said, "Hey, I seen you on YouTube," and I'm like,
but
time to delete the account.
I was going to say, did their attitude towards you change in any way, or were they more helpful towards you?
No, they're still all nice. I mean, you know, that was a few years ago. Most of the employees have already left. They have actually changed managers. So I'm not really sure, you know, of those, which ones are left and which ones really no. Because the employee turnover in these stores are so quick and fast that there's new people every time you go into, so at least here anyway, every time you go into the store, it seems like their turnover is like 2 months and they're out the door.
Yeah. Diana Hughes has got a question for you there, Ronnie. To expand, would you hire someone to do your listing like Scavenger Life, for example? So
we've talked about it, me and my wife, but where we're changing our plans, we're not going to do that. We're actually going on the road and going to buy an RV and travel and sell from the road. I'm not sure if we're going to carry our inventory with us and sell it on the road, or if I'm going to send it to like another eBay seller to sell it for me. And, you know, we dilly up the tally and, you know, split it up.
Crazy Picker Life's doing something similar as well. I think there's another YouTube channel where the guy that has, that's down. What about the logistics of something like that? I mean, is it just for the excitement, or is it?
There was a few people that did it before that. There was like Dallas Moore did it, and then there's Dorky Thrifters does it actually right now. They have RV and they go around. So it was always interesting, and it was interesting when he came up with the idea, because we've talked about it for a few years, but my wife was so bent on getting a house. You know, now after we had some issues with trying to get offers on houses or the right offer getting outbidded, my wife's like, you know what, we live in a very expensive area. Maybe we should see other areas, what I've been telling her to do, and see if there's a cheaper area that we can get more house for the money. And she's more open to it now, where, you know, Wheeler and Dealer, Picker Life, they kind of want to do it a little bit differently, but it's interesting to watch them because you can get little ideas, or it's different to say, oh, that's how they're going to do that. But I mean, they're going to be a family of 8. Yeah. They have to plan, because the family of 8, like, it's just me and my wife. Like, no big deal, but you got 6 kids to worry about feeding. I mean, you know, you have to do totally things differently. You know, it's going to be fun. It makes it different because our channels, we do it for so long that everything gets kind of boring after a while. It's like, how many times can I show a clothing haul, or how many times can I show what I sold before it's like, I've already done this. Like, you get bored. I get bored with making the channel sometimes, and I'm trying to figure out something to do differently, or, you know, it's no different than the live shows. It's how do you come up with a new topic that hasn't been already done to death? It's kind of hard.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the beauties of getting guests like yourself on, who have a completely different take on it, in a different country completely, and it brings a fresh perspective. I actually wanted to wrap this up with a bit of a chat about YouTube, because we're nearly at the hour now. We try to keep these to an hour if we can. You said earlier that doing the when you're going to go to this reseller rally, that's kind of outside of your comfort zone, talking to maybe 200 people live in a room. And yet you've got a successful YouTube channel where you've, had many hundreds of thousands of views, no doubt. So, and going back to the YouTube thing, did you ever imagine it would get to this scale? And how do you feel about the channel and the scale of it now?
I was never, I was always quiet with coming on here. For a while, I didn't show my face. I refused to show my face on, I just talk about certain things, or I'd shoot video and upload it. Like, I never showed my face. And then we started doing the live shows, and then it came about, and then people would recognize me. It goes probably once a month or once every 2 months I get recognized, which is really odd or weird. Yeah. It's like, hey, sometimes it's the same people and I'll see the same person, and there's certain people you like, certain people you don't like. And it's like, oh, that person again. Or, there's I've ran into other content creators and stuff like that. It's kind of fun. I mean, I never seen when we started our channel 5 years ago. I mean, people were getting like 100 views on a channel, 200 views. The most subscribed person was like 4,000 or 5,000 subscribers. I never knew that YouTube would become this big thing. Back in like 2012, when we were living in the Dominican Republic, my wife was kind of pushing me to start a channel. I had talked about it, about just doing everyday life things in the Dominican Republic, being a foreigner there, and just some of the things we did. And I refused to do it. Like, I thought of it, but I was like, oh, I ain't doing this. I ain't getting on camera. Who knows what that would have done? You know what I mean? Because
sounds mega interesting, actually. That actually really, you should do it this time if you.
And now it's coming back to that, because now it's about traveling and going on the road here eventually and seeing different places, and also thrifting in different places. Like, we've talked about, like, once we're done with the US and Canada, maybe we go to other countries and see what we can get, or so on and so forth. I mean, and see,
that would be cool.
It's just, it just depends. There's so many things that have to happen, but it just makes it fun, and try to, I don't know, channel wise, it's just trying to grow the different channel in a different way and try to have fun with it. I mean, the biggest probably thing I've seen over YouTube over the last months is just marketers, I guess, trying to come on here all of a sudden and trying to sell people a product more so, especially in our community. Yeah,
I think that's a natural evolution of any niche. Once people realize there's an appetite for these sort of videos, certain people will use their entrepreneurial gift to try and make money out of it. And I think that was going to happen regardless. And my view on that is that, that's their thing. It may not be my thing, but I can't.
You just see it. But, some of it's good, some of it's bad. I mean, it's like everything.
I mean, we've said before, Zaheer and I, many times, that we're constantly surprised how popular the channels are, and the videos, and how many views we get. But what the main thing it's done for us is the community thing. The fact that, I mean, I speak to Zaheer on a daily basis, and other resellers in the UK. And for years and years, I was doing this completely on my own. I didn't realize there were other people doing it almost. And now we have this network of friends that now has gone overseas, and I've got many friends in America now that I can talk to about what we do. And that's what YouTube really has done for us, is it give us a sense of being part of something.
It's fun. It's just, like, it goes back to the beginning. Like, it was just a way to communicate with one or two people. Now you communicate with people everywhere and everything. Like, I didn't know there was a community in the UK to, like, a while back. And it was like, I watched a bunch of channels for a while just because I was like curious. It always drove me crazy though, because they were like, yeah, I got this for 10 quid. And then 2 seconds later, I got this for 10p. It's like, what's a quid? What's a p? Like, what the? You realize p is pounds probably. And I was like, what's a quid?
Yeah, I've had that a few times. A quid, it's just like your buck. It's just another word for $1, and quid is another word for £1. So yeah.
Yeah.
But they would say it in the same video, different words, and I was thinking it means something different when it means actually the same thing. I think
Exactly the same. I do it all the time. Okay,
yeah, I think
dip in the chat before we wrap this up. See if we've got anything else I want to touch on.
I should have opened it. Okay.
Someone's saying that you and Gretchen are welcome here in South London. So you got an invite there from Diana.
We're probably at some point. I don't know. We've talked about going to UK anyway to see my wife's friend, but I'm not sure like of a date or anything. We were supposed to go this past winter. That was my thing. Going to be my gift to her, and then I don't remember why we didn't do it, but for some reason it got pushed for way down the line.
And they're did you say Middlesbrough? They are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
the only reason I remember it is because it's a town that's probably about an hour from us. You know, and my wife would go, "Oh, she had to take a picture and send it to her." You know, women are.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to let us know if you're ever coming over this way.
Will do.
Okay, cool. Unless there was anything else, we've been going an hour and 5, so we should wrap this one up and let all these people get on with their lives. Really appreciate that. We normally dip in the chat a lot more, but there was so much good conversation going on. I've kind of ignored the chat for most of it, so apologies to everyone. I know we missed a lot of questions and comments, but when you get a good guest on, that's just how it happens, I'm afraid. So thanks so much, Ronnie. We'll have to do this again sometime.
No problem. Thank you for having me on. It was pretty fun.
Yeah. And cheers, Zaheer, for helping me out with hosting.
No, it's been a pleasure. Like I said, I got to geek out a bit because I've been a watcher, so it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
It is always nice when you get people on that you've watched a lot, and you know that circle comes around. And yeah,
definitely.
Fantastic.
Beauty of YouTube.
So I don't know what our peak was. We're currently at 178 viewers, which is fantastic. If you haven't already and you enjoy what we do, please give us a thumbs up down below. We'd really appreciate that. Check out Ronnie's channel. There won't be a link right now, but I'll put that in as soon as we're finished. So go over there and check out Ronnie's channel. Loads of great content on there. And for now, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you all soon. Take care, guys.
Bye.